right.
Okay,
Hear
good.
the tunes?
Come with us on a journey into the unknown, the unexplained, and the unbelievable. We will test your senses and challenge your beliefs. A world where science and religion clash. Or do they? You will meet real people and hear real stories, but you will not believe. You will witness strange sights and hear strange sounds, but you will not believe. This is the New England Ghost Project. Welcome to the nightmare.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Ghost Chronicles, the medium rare edition. I am Ron Kolick, your host, the gatekeeper of the realm of the unknown, the unexplained, and all that other stuff. With me, my co host, the most beautiful, Reiki infused woman I've ever met. She is Leslie Barton.
Wow. What an introduction. Thanks so much, Ron.
Yeah, well, things aren't going well, so I figured I'd throw it out there and maybe it'd turn around and come back to me. Doesn't work that
Good
way.
old karma.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I mean, that's with the witches. We just did a show with Marla Brooks and Steve on witchcraft and witches, so that was fun. If you want to check it out, you can go to Ghost Chronicles International right here on Told You That and catch out the back episode of it. But we did have a guest, and evidently, I don't know what his problem is, but he's not here. But so it is Leslie and I until he shows up or not. So Les, we just finished Spirit Quest this year, Spectral Evidence,
And
which
what
is
fun did we have? What a great
we always
weekend
have
that
fun.
was.
We
Yeah,
always have fun.
we do.
I mean, we have the same crowd that comes back every year, and they just keep coming back. Some people plan it way ahead of them, and it amazes me. But we always come up with some kind of a neat theme. This year was spectral evidence, a takeoff of what I did in Salem, Massachusetts. You did too several times, Leslie as well.
Yes.
At the Hawthorne Hotel as part of the Festival of Dead. We did that for 13 years with Christian Day and Sean Portier and the group. So that was a lot of fun. Um, but what I tell you, one of the most amazing things in my life that happened in the event field is that we had a couple one year at Spectral Events show up who, believe it or not, postponed their wedding so they could go to the event.
Wow. That's pretty amazing that someone would postpone their wedding to go to one of your events. That's wonderful.
Yeah. So I see we have a guest with us.
Oh,
Joshua,
yay.
Joshua there?
Hey, I'm there, Ron. How are you?
Good. You can lose the video, my friend. We don't need that.
Sure, no problem. Let me go ahead and cut that off and just go ahead and go to my regular. I got to find the screen share here for a minute. And let me try to look. Oh, there it is. All right, there we go. Boom.
Wow, that's good. So yeah, I saw in the background it says Phantom Detective, so that must mean something, don't you think?
I agree. And I have been on an amazing journey for the past 5 years with my organization that I founded in August 2020. It has been an unbelievable journey filled with magazine appearances, television appearances, radio show appearances, and 30 investigations that we've done. And we've grown quite a bit from our days from when we first started.
That's the interesting thing about paranormal investigating. Actually, in all things in life, that things have changed over the years. I mean, I've been doing this for over 25 years, and uh, Steve Parsons, a good friend of mine, is a parapsychologist from the UK. He used to come over here every year, so I would give him some of the old script, articles and stuff that uh, in my early years, and he would look at him and say, "Wow, I can't believe you believe that stuff." I said, "Well, that's how you grow, you learn," and I think that's what paranormal investigation is learning. You're constantly getting challenged with your beliefs and so forth. And it's the good ones, in my opinion, that will adjust to not be stubborn in their thoughts, but to be able to learn from them.
Exactly. And you can see the tech has evolved a lot from the past 25 years. I mean, back probably when you started, you might have just had a pair of dowsing rods, maybe an EMF meter, and maybe a voice recorder, and maybe like a Geiger counter, but you didn't have like all these ghost boxes, SLS cameras, thermal imaging cameras. I mean, all these fancy REM pods that light up like light up cat and stuff. I mean, back 20, 30 years ago, you might have just had the bare minimum, which is basically a tape recorder and an EMF meter. But that's how it evolved. I mean, that stuff kind of laid the foundation for the stuff that we have today.
Yeah, but for good or worse, a lot of this tech that we all use, and so I have every piece of crap there is. There's no really good scientific evidence for what it does, and a lot of the equipment we've tested, we've learned little tricks about how uh, they can give many false readings out of it. So it's unfortunately that it is out there, and that's how we learn, by trying to invent things and come up with it. But the validity of some of the stuff out there is really not that strong, at least in my opinion.
Absolutely. And some of the old-fashioned stuff, like the most basic thing, like a tape recorder or a digital voice recorder, is sometimes better on investigation than like some kind of light up cat that's a REM pod doll, because
Yeah.
because basically you're getting a clear voice on an audio recorder that on an EVP versus doing using sometimes just hoping just a piece of equipment goes off, but sometimes not always stuff goes off, and it really depends on the location and what kind of business is it, and also what type of setting are you in. Are you indoors? Are you outdoors? Are you are you filming? I mean, what there's like a lot of external noise that could easily set things off for false readings. So you got to be very careful, based on where you're at too. You got to sometimes change your equipment out from place to place based on the type of layout that you have as well.
Yeah. Before we get into all the equipment and everything else, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you grew up, and how you got involved in this to start with.
Sure.
Also with this, by the way, is Leslie Martin. She's a medium and also a co-host for this particular show.
Awesome.
Hi,
Very cool.
Joshua.
Hi,
Before
Haida.
you start, Joshua, I have to ask you one burning question. How
Sure.
do you pronounce your last name?
Sure. No problem. It is chairs.
Cheers.
CH.
Okay.
Yep.
I wasn't
So
sure if it was like a soft CH or,
no problem.
so
So
thank you.
I'll give you guys my backstory. So, I originally got my super start in the supernatural by watching Unsolved Mysteries with Robert Stack. It really was one of the first real television shows of the paranormal. And I originally watched this episode called The Haunting of the General Wayne Inn in 1988. And The Haunting of the General Wayne Inn was about this old English coaching inn that dates back to 1705. It was originally called Steeper's Tavern and then was renamed after my ancestor, Major General War Hero Major General Anthony Wayne, sometime in 1793 after he was
Oh,
serving as a colonel of the U.S. Army. So the episode kind of covered a lot of the early days of like, people seeing Hessian soldiers in the basement. Also people seeing different types of like, some of the women be at the bar and all of a sudden they would think that someone would touch their necks and they thought was their husbands. There would be a valet in the parking lot that would supposedly see like the car would be started on its own and no one had turned on the key or the ignition, the door was locked. There's also supposedly famous dignitaries like George Washington, Marquis de Lafayette, Edgar Allan Poe, Ben Franklin sorted mail there. So it's a really famous place, and that episode really caught my eye. And then of course watching In Search of by Leonard Nimoy. And Leonard Nimoy pretty much his Spock from Star Trek pretty much started the first real paranormal television show even 10 years before Unsolved Mystery. So those two shows really started getting my interest in the supernatural. And as we got to the 90s, I would pick up every book. I was kind of like one of those kids, I'm sure, much like you guys were, growing up, reading every book on the paranormal from, books by Hans Holzer, who was America's first ghost hunter. Also books on UFOs by Whitley Strieber, like Communion. Also books by other famous people like John Mack, and other tons of people out there that really influenced me in ufology. And I was just really always amazed, like some of the stories of like alien abductions and all that stuff. And then in 1993, I remember flipping the AM dial one night and hearing this said this is Dreamland with Art Bell, and I was originally hooked on Art's world, and he really did pioneer, like, the first one to talk about like things ever before everybody else did on, like,
Yeah, that was a
area.
great show, actually.
Oh, it really was. And Art,
Yeah.
like, to me, opened a world of exploration and ideas before anybody had ever accomplished. I mean, he was the first one to really dive into the subject of UFOs on the radio. He really was one of the first ones to talk about read ghost stories live over the air every year, called Ghost to Ghost AM. So he's just an amazing host for his time, and at his peak, he had 15 to 20 million listeners a night. I don't even know television shows today that even can even get 10 million. But Art
Mm.
did it like every night on the AM radio. So as we got in the 90s, I was really fascinated, and I just started, like, some of the television shows started popping up on TV. Some of the early ones were like one called Most Haunted with Yvette Fielding and Carl Beatty.
Oh
And
yeah.
Yvette was awesome because her and Carl would go to like castles and explore like old castles in like Scotland and Wales, and that was really one of the first shows. And then 5 years later, Ghost Hunters comes out on television, and I graduated high school 2003, and then right around the time when Ghost Hunters came out, it was like a wildfire. Like, these plumbers from Roto-Rooter who would pretty much go and investigate Eastern State Penitentiary or Fort Mifflin or Penhurst or and the Conjuring House up in Rhode Island. I mean, the plumbers were awesome, and just the way they opened up. They also knew exactly if someone had a leaky faucet, they could debunk. If a client had a leaky faucet and they're hallucinating, they're thinking the water's turning on by itself. And
Mm.
so Jason and Grant were pretty amazing. They kind of really helped get my start. And then 2007, a show called Paranormal State comes out, which is with Ryan Buell, Katrina Wyman, Heather Taddy, as well as Chip Coffey, who was on the show with Lorraine Warren and Michelle Belanger. So Ryan Buell had his own students from Penn State that had investigated the paranormal. And I even have Ryan's old tri-field EMF meter. And that show really kind of caught the craze of me because it was so popular at Penn State when Ryan started his own thing called Ghost Club, and Katrina joined and Heather joined. So it was just amazing run. And then Ghost Adventures came out in '08. I mean, all these shows started popping up on TV, and I love how they would sit down and go through the process of gathering data, investigating the location, and then showing, like, like creating the scientific method, and seeing they got results. And then one of my favorite things I did in 2014, 6 years later, was there was this old property called Summerwind, and I would love to tell you about Summerwind because I was involved in the restoration project with that. Um, so in 2014, I watched this episode called "The Haunting of Summerwind," which is based out of Marion Station, or sorry, and bringing stuff in. So literally, Summerwind is an old English fishing lodge. It was founded by a guy named John Frank, who basically was he actually from Akron, Ohio, and Mr. Frank had actually was a carpenter as well as a blacksmith. So he moved up to Wisconsin in around 2000 and sorry, in 1914. You could stay 490 night there in a place called West Bay Lake Fishing Lodge. And there, once you stayed there at 499 a night, he basically then sold the place to a man named Robert Patterson Lamont. And Mr. Lamont was the future U.S. Secretary of Commerce under President Herbert Hoover. And so he had did that, and then basically he converted the mansion from a fishing lodge to a mansion around 1916. And then after he had converted the mansions, all strange kind of paranormal activity started happening in the mansion. The servants supposedly were told Mr. Lamont, "Hey, the place is haunted," and Mr. Lamont's like, "There's no such thing as ghost." And then he had not only had that happen, but also in 1935, according to the haunting episode on Travel Channel, he had also had supposedly grabbed his black powder pistol, fired two shots, thus missing the ghost, and never returned to the property. And then 13 years later, Mr. Lamont passed away in 1948, and the place went to a lady named Lillian Kiefer. And in the haunting episode, her name was Miss Murray. They changed the name to protect the identity of the people involved in the original story. So after the Lillian Kiefer bought it, she had people lease the property out over 20 years. And then in 1969, there was a family called the Hinshaw family. I was friends with the family. And they had supposedly moved into Summerlin because they had to have the place. They thought it was a really amazing place to go and really go be able to check out like the place. And they thought they have it. What happened was all kind of strange things happened from the moment that they had moved in to the property. So supposedly, according to the book, they had supposedly had windows that would fly open on their own. They had to nail them shut. There was also there was also supposed electrical appliances would break down and start and would suppose and then break down and then work again. So they had constant like construction workers coming and people working in different areas of the house. And mind you, Summer Wind was one of the first properties to have steam heat and electricity back in during the Lamont days. So as the Hinshaw family started having some strange things happening, supposedly there was also a crawl space where this guy named Arnold Hinshaw, he was had three kids of his own, and then of course Ginger had three kids of her own. So it was like the Brady Bunch family, each the two together that they had three kids of their own. And supposedly, according to the story of Summerwind, Arnold was a construction worker. His real name was Jim Hill, so they changed his identity for the book. And supposedly Jim had his car supposedly caught on fire on the day to work one morning. And there's this crawl space inside of Summerwind where literally supposedly Mr. Henshaw shined a light in there and he sent his 10-year-old stepdaughter April to go ahead and investigate, and he found a skeleton with black hair. That's in the book that was covered in the book A Carver Effect, a paranormal experience written by Wolfgang von Bober in 1979. And once they found the skeleton, they called the police, but the skeleton had vanished the next day, which was pretty wild. And then supposedly as time went on, Summerwind got worse, where literally the not only did that happen, but also Mr. Hinshaw supposedly played there was a Wurlitzer organ inside the house, and he played it to all hours of the night. So he played an organ to all hours of the night, saying the spirits supposedly were possessing him to, play this tune. And the family was terrified. They all stayed in one room in the house. And then Ginger, unfortunately, abandoned efforts in Summerwind around 73 and, went back to Miss Murray. And once Miss Murray got it, her father, Ginger's father, Raymond von Bober, who was a popcorn vendor from Chicago, thought he could make a go of the place again. And Ginger pleaded to her father, "Don't buy Summerwind. It's cursed. It's haunted. All this stuff." And then so basically, he tried to make a go of the place, and the Bobers had ran into similar problems that the Hinshaws did. There was, supposedly they would measure rooms from the original blueprints, and with the original blueprint, supposedly the measurements would change, the room would change shape. There's also reports of construction tools breaking down similar to the Hinshaws and all of that. And according to Mr. Von Bober, Ginger and his son Ray, who just got out of the army, put their father under a hypnosis thing. And supposedly, it's like I had a dream, and there was this English explorer by the name of Jonathan Carver who was looking for a land grant for the northern third of Wisconsin. So he was haunting Summerwind trying to find this land grant, but it was never found. And according to my friend Craig Nearing, who runs a team out there who has investigated Summerwind property many times, the land grant was found in England like many years later. So these people still go on the property today and dig up the foundation looking for a land grant that doesn't exist there. So what happened was, as the Bobers abandoned Summerwind, the place was bought by a lady named Babs and Harold Tracy in 1985 after Miss Kiefer passed away. And according to the owners, they actually had a story involved at Summerwind one night where Mr. Tracy took his wife up to Miss Tracy up to the driveway, walk up the driveway one night, and supposedly the mansion was inhaling, like taking a life of its own. And not only that was going on, but unfortunately the place burnt down 2 years later in 1988. Lightning and wind and fire took down Summerwind. And which was wild was there was a neighbor at Summerwind who supposedly had supposedly said the township was tired of people trespassing on the property, so they took it upon themselves to burn down the property, and so that way they could go ahead and be able to start. And it was pretty wild. So that happened. So in 2014, I had bought. So I watched a haunting episode, and literally. Not only that, but basically after I bought the haunting episode, I bought the original Blueprints to Summerwind, which was quite hard to find. So it was pretty
It's
amazing.
pretty cool.
So
Unfortunately, we have to take a break right now, and you have to breathe because you haven't been quiet for like 2 seconds.
sorry, my apologies.
Your enthusiasm about the subject is amazing, but we have questions at times that we never get to have them in because you just go, man, friend.
No
I
problem.
would be So, anyways, it's great. The original question was how you got involved in it, but the story on the mansion is freaking amazing. I mean, that's amazing, and you've done your certainly your research on it, which is really really cool. But
Yes.
yeah, so got to breathe a little, my friend. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. So we're going to be taking a break right now. You're listening to Ghost Chronicles or Medium Rare Edition right here on TogiNet Power X, and we're all good podcasts go to die. I am Ron Kolick, your host, and with me is my co-host, Leslie Marden, and our special guest today is Joshua Cheers from Phantom Detectives, correct?
Yes.
Because I tend to screw names up. That's why they don't even let me talk half the time. But anyway, so we're brought to you by Circles of Wisdom, 386 Merrimack Street, Methuen, Massachusetts, the Glant Messier Family Law Group, 55 High Street, North Andover, Massachusetts, and our good friends on Ghost Chronicles Radio on Patreon. Become a member and, get access to a bunch of crap. So we're also brought to you by Positively Brilliant Reiki Infused Candles on Etsy, I think it's called. So check that out, Positively Brilliant Candles on Etsy. We'll be right back.
Do you have a paranormal event, book, or something else you want people to know about? Then why not advertise it on Ghost Chronicles Radio? With over 150,000 downloads a month, get your message out to an audience that's interested in the subject. We have a plan at a cost that fits your needs. For more information, contact Ron Kolick at anyghostproject@comcast.net or call 978-455-6678.
Located in Illinois, there lies a sleepy little town where nothing is a common occurrence.
You going to that party in town tonight?
Heck yeah! I only turned 18 once.
That is until the night of celebration.
Where the hell is she? Oh no. No, Jessica!
What's happening?
From the creators of Shadowhunters, Bite Me, comes a tale of primal terror and grindcore mayhem. Shadowhunters, kill, Jessica, kill!
Are you reading me? Come in. Hello? Greetings from the Shadow, and welcome to Shadowzine. My name is Jeff Belanger. I'm an author, podcaster, and explorer of the unexplained. For 30 years, I've been investigating the paranormal, UFOs, monsters, and things that bump in the night. Lately, you may have noticed how major TV networks and even social media networks have been pushing our favorite subject back into the shadows. I say good. That's why I launched Shadowzine. a monthly underground publication that covers your favorite topics in depth by some of the leading writers and researchers out there. If you're looking for 30-second TikTok clips, go somewhere else. If you're ready for a deeper dive, put down your phone and pick up Shadowzine. You can't find it in stores. This is old school print. Head to shadowzine.com and be part of the underground revolution. That's shadowzine.com, and I'll see you in the shadow.
Welcome back. You are listening to Ghost Chronicles, the medium rare edition, with your host, Ron Kolek, and me, Leslie Martin. And our special guest tonight is Joshua Chairs.
Hopefully he's still there. Josh, you there?
Yes, I'm still here. I'm looking forward to answering questions. If you guys got questions, feel free to fire away.
I honest to God, that was brilliant. I was just amazed you could carry that. We used to have a show on before me on here on TojiNet. It was Pam Otten. She used to do a financial show. She used to do the whole show for herself, talking for an hour. And it's like, wow, I always was amazed at that. And I know you could do it because you're so enthused about the topic. I mean, and the subject, that you could really easily do an hour by yourself thing. So I give you kudos for that. But one thing I did want to mention, your favorite general there, Wayne, what's his face?
Man,
you heard his story about his bones, right?
Yes, and actually the story is supposedly that he has, what happened was he died around 1794. So his son Isaac Wayne, who was a congressman, had gone to, he was originally buried out in Erie, Pennsylvania, a place called Soldiers and Sailors. So basically Isaac had brought a cart, and, what happened was, so Isaac only didn't have room to, take the whole coffin back to Radnor to bury at his family's plot in St. David's, which is up in Radnor, Pennsylvania. So he supposedly had to separate the flesh, or the the muscle and all that from the skeleton. So supposedly he took the skeleton and had it all boiled and separated all that, and took the bones and buried them at the St. David's plot in Radnor, and then threw the rest of the remains into the other coffin. So General Wayne is pretty much buried one place in Erie and another place in St. David's at Radnor. So supposedly there's a story that his spirit comes up along 322 every New Year's, and supposedly haunts, looking for his some of his lost bones that were lost along the drive all the way back from Erie down to Chester County.
Yeah, in my book, Ghost of the Day, which was written, it's basically like a calendar book. Each day has a ghost story that is associated with a particular day, and that was the first story in it, and that was given to me by Jeff Belanger. He says, "Ron, I got one for you," and that was the first time I had heard of it. But it's an amazing story, and so, anyways, let's talk a little bit more about the Phantom Detectives and investigating and so forth. Do you use mediums in your group at all?
Oh yes, we have. Actually, we got 3 mediums, and 2 of them are on a research team. We got the world-renowned psychic lawyer Mark Anthony. He is on our team as a researcher. We also have Holly Faust, who is a head of our occult symbols and our spiritual beliefs department. Holly was a part of a group called Paranormal Research Society, as I mentioned earlier. She actually was Ryan Buell's right-hand top assistant. And then we also have Melissa Ferrazzano on our investigation team, and Melissa is a psychic medium. She is also studied. She's a life coach. She studied advanced mediumship and shamanic healing, crystal energy tapping. She's actually a student of a well-known medium by the name of Cindy Kaza. Cindy Kaza was on the Holzer Files, and now her and Dave Schrader and Shane Pittman started a new show called Paranormal Mysteries, which is basically the Holzer Files with a new name. And also, Melissa also is really good. Like, she's highly accurate. And we have 3 on our investigation team and 2 on our research team. And what's great is every member has their own gifts, and we even have a UFO guy on our team as well, and on our investigation team. So we got a really well-rounded organization with different areas of study too.
Love
So
that.
what is the purpose of having a UFO guy if you're investigating a haunting?
Well, because I'm also into studying UFOs as well, and Rick actually brings a lot of skills from the MUFON world. Our team member Rick Warner is actually something called he's executive director of an organization called Extraterrestrial Research Center, or ERC. He's a certified UFO field investigator through MUFON, and he's also the ambassador to the Italian UFO Federation, which is one of the largest UFO federations in the world. So he's the U.S. ambassador. So Rick has skills. During that time when I invited him to join Phantom Detectives in March of 2021, he had skills in interviewing clients. So he knew how to interview clients. He knew how to film investigations. I am not very good on filming investigations. So he has skills on interviewing clients, filming investigations, and also tech, understanding setting up the equipment and all that. So he was really valuable to us in the early days because he could do a lot of things that no member on our team could do.
That makes a lot
that's
of
amazing.
sense.
So how do you, when you go and say you get you do mostly, do you do like private investigations as well as, public buildings?
Oh, yes, we do both. We try to be a nuts and bolts organization. Some organizations out there might only do, homes to help people, and some people might only do businesses. For me, I rather build an organization that can handle all of that. Like we try to do businesses, and we try to do private investigations. But the beautiful thing is, now we have a system in place. We have our own case management system. So if somebody really wants an investigation done of their home or their business, they now got to go through our website. We got a brand new website that we just had created from WordPress earlier this year. So we now have a form on our website. So people that are
Why don't you
serious about
give out your website? Well, speaking of websites, so yeah.
Sure. It's a Phantom, all one word, Phantom, PHANTOM, Detectives, DETECTIVES, phantomdetectives.org, all one word. And if you need investigation done, just go to the top and click the link, and basically says request an investigation or request help, and you fill out that form. Provide all the information. It'll go right to our case manager, Melissa. Melissa also serves as scheduling the investigations. And the beautiful part is once you get that submitted, we'll look over it and we'll consider doing your home or business. So we have our own system in place, which is great. So now if people want to go through the website, they fill out the form. That way we can find out if people are serious about paranormal claims. Anybody can claim, oh, there's a ghost in my attic or my home, but unless you provide us with some information about what's really going on, we can't help you. So I think it's a great way to have your own kind of case management system that can help you schedule investigations too.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
How far will you travel and where are you based?
Sure. So we got a great area because we're based out of Pennsylvania, the Wilmington, Delaware, the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania region. So we can handle anywhere, cases in southern New Jersey. We can handle cases in Maryland. We can handle cases in Pennsylvania. And we can also handle cases in Ohio and New York. So we're really in a great place because we can go to Delaware as well. We're really versatile because being right on the Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delaware line, we can pretty much go anywhere. So if we have to ever travel for an investigation, usually we request people, if we have to go more than 3 hours to, send gas money and, hotel costs, because obviously going to a far away location, we're going to have to waste a lot of our, time, resources, money. So it's not, we never usually request that people pay. We never charge for investigation, but if we ever have to travel far, I think asking for gas and hotel costs is reasonable, so we just try to go anywhere in the state line, but we love what we do. We love helping people. We really are passionate about what we do. And that's what I love about you talking to you, because you're also in the same field as me and somebody that helped pave the way for me, Ron.
Yeah. It's been, it's every group is differently, and there is no right or wrong. It's the way that you believe and the results that you get. It's, to me, when I first got involved in it, I have a degree in environmental science. I was never really interested in ghosts or anything else, but long story, I'm not going to go into it. But when I get into it, I was either going to prove or disprove that ghosts exist or spirits exist. And then I soon realized that there are, some people are out there that have, ghosts came up and slapped them across their face. They would rationalize the whole thing away. And there are other people out there that light flickers because the furnace goes on. They right away believe it's ghosts. So you've got those type of people out there. And to me, it's like, okay, no amount of evidence is going to sway or dissuade one or the other. So basically, I, in my group, always just present the evidence. We don't tell you your house is haunted or anything like that. We present the evidence, what we find, and our results, and you make up your own mind on it, because that's the way we believe in it. We believe in independent thought. So, but we even look. The thing, my biggest kick about the ghost hunting shows is like, Ghost Hunters when they first came out. If you remember the very beginning of it, they used to either go and declare a place haunted or not. But then, they soon realized that, people wanted to see haunted places. So virtually every place was haunted. They still did debunking, but every place became more and more haunted. And then soon it carried on to worse and worse. But anyways, TV is still TV. It's still for entertainment.
Right.
So, but anyways.
And I have to say, like, a lot of these shows, like on television, like your Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunters, mostly it's kind of like watching the WWE. You can watch the same thing, like it's all scripted.
Oh, yeah.
There is like a lot of it is all kind of like you said, that entertainment aspect. So you got to understand when you see these, like even like football games or even like stuff on TV or even like stuff on like when they say the word, this is a presentation, like it's the same thing, everything that comes with that word presentation. So in terms of these ghost hunting shows, it's the same thing. I believe that some of the evidence is legitimately 100% true, some of the experiences, but also the other half of the experiences are completely scripted to make it fit into an hour. So they have to condense a lot of like 15 or 12 hours into like 1 hour. So there's a lot that's missing out on the actually
bring in all the boring stuff, Josh. All the boring stuff.
Yes. Yes. So I do believe it's mostly just pretty much entertainment, but it's good entertainment if you enjoy watching that. But
exactly.
You just have to. But it's cool to see because everyone's got different styles and you can learn something. But if you want to start your own paranormal team by watching some of the shows and then going out and doing it yourself and just go on some public investigations with some of the local paranormal groups. So they're always looking for people in your area to go out and tag along. And some organizations are mostly formed from just going to these public investigations. That's how I formed mine.
Yeah, I found that in that the TV shows are actually being cut back now from a lot of the channels because it's just it's TV is dying anyways, quite frankly, and most everybody is now doing their thing on YouTube. They just like putting all that crap up on YouTube, so that it's kind of transferring to the internet versus terrestrial TV.
Exactly. And I think a lot of it is because of all the cancellations. There was a lot of things that were going on with Warner Brothers Discovery, especially with shows like Kindred Spirits. I know Amy and Adam very well.
Yep.
Other shows like Portals to Hell with Katrina Wyman and Jack Osborne. A lot of these shows were cut because of budget reasons, and there was a merger when Warner Brothers Discovery merged together into one outfit. A lot of the shows got cut, so I think there was a lot of restructuring, a lot of management changes, and maybe some of the new suits of these networks didn't like the paranormal, so they just kind of cut it out, and because they just didn't see like wasn't going to make them money, because obviously the show if it doesn't have high ratings, it's going to get canceled. So maybe they felt like restructuring was the only way. So that, like you said, going to YouTube is smart because people have control of their content, and you don't got to worry about like answering to say, hey, you have to cut this out or cut that out. You don't have no network executives on YouTube. You're your own boss.
Yep. The interesting thing is I remember what was the heck of the name of those guys? Oh, Tennessee Wraith Chasers.
Yes.
And they used to go around capture ghosts, and the one that like blew my mind, it still does till to this day, is when they took it to the stream and blew it up with dynamite. And after it's been captured, see, they took it, and the idea was that it would dissipate. But they said that they never really wanted to do that the producers forced them into doing it. And I don't know how true that is, but that's what I heard. But I mean, yes, a lot of the ghost shows are pretty much done. I have friends that work on them, and they told me even Ghost Adventurers is going. They have like 30 episodes in the can, so you're still going to see it, but it's on its way out as well. So YouTube may be the way to see your stuff on Ghost. So Charles, yeah, Joshua,
Yes,
I wanted to talk about a little bit about how you do an investigation.
sure,
You mentioned, yeah. So how do you do it? How do you set up your investigation? How do you know
sure.
run it?
So normally what we do first, of course, we do a client interview. I think the client interview is very important because you can kind of determine whether or not if a person is really serious about the claims of paranormal activity at their location. So based on the information contained in the client interview, like I can interview really well and so can Rick. So if someone is like basically not serious and not being like really legit about their claims of activity based on the information of the client interview. If it's warranted, if we feel that the information is valid, the person's really feeling that they're experienced, then we'll set up an investigation. So we'll then go back to the client and say, okay, look, we have talked it over as a team, me, Rick, and Melissa in our group chat on text message, and like we'll say, okay, we'll go ahead and come to your residence, based on the date. So then, of course, once you get the date set, then you can just set up your equipment. So normally, what we do is we set up all kinds of various apparatuses all over. A home or a business. So usually we set up a DVR system because I love having security cameras. What's great about those is if someone's not in a room, the motion will go off. It'll immediately alert us. So you can also see equipment going off. So that's great evidence. Also, if you're a security camera, and then we just set up all the equipment, and we use like EMF meters. We also use electric dowsing rods. Those are great. And what's really neat is when we do the investigation process, we use the scientific method, which is develop a hypothesis, create it, to test it, and refine it, and then see if you get results. And what's really great about using the scientific method is that you can kind of determine make a hypothesis: is this place haunted or not, based upon the available evidence. So normally what we'll do is we'll begin by taking EMF readings and digital camera pictures, and then we'll take thermal imaging images just to see if we, to pick up hot and cold spots. And what's great about thermal cameras is that a lot of auto mechanics use them for using when putting in parts in a vehicle, and as well as it's thermal imaging is also used in like helicopters and stuff, people to locate missing people in the wilderness. If there's a hot spot, for example, you see a handprint on the window, and none of your team put it there, that could possibly be someone paranormal, unless somebody have physically gone up there and put their handprint on the window. If you're looking for cold signatures, so if it's something cold and there's no possibly nothing else that could have interfered and caused that, then boom, you might have something paranormal. And also the SLS camera is a really great piece of equipment if you know how to use it right. It's called structured light sensor. It's called the Kinect camera. It uses the Xbox Kinect technology to map spirits using drawing a stick figure and marking them as a anomaly. And what's great about the SLS camera, if you aim it against a solid wall, now you got to be very careful though, because the SLS camera can easily create false readings. Like if you have a chandelier hanging off a wall, or a picture frame hanging off a wall, or a water bottle sitting on a shelf, it could be misleading because you may think it's something paranormal, but it's just literally pretty much just like I said, it's a false reading. So if you put it against a solid wall, that's what we do. We always get good results with that. And then we also have lighted dowsing rods. Rick Warner's really good at those.
Back to the SLX camera.
Yes.
We did Spirit Quest one year. Jeff Belanger was here, and also Steve Parsons, one of the leading parapsychologists in the UK, was with us as well. And Jeff brought one of the SRL cameras from, I can never say that word. I couldn't sing it right. Whatever. I'm going to call it SRL because that's what I do. Anyways, from the Ghost Adventures that they used on the show. And we took it to this cabin that we were in, and Steve demonstrated how you can get false things in it. And the interesting thing about it was, like, people were there, they got to use it and stuff like that. And then they came back to the main building afterwards, and they all came up to me and said, yeah, I saw Steve, how he debunked it. but I really think that was a ghost. It's like, people still going to believe what they're going to believe. So even if you, disprove something, or show how it can be false, they still ignore it at times. So do you have that problem with your team, or is it, I mean, are your team willing to grasp it? Everything is paranormal, or are they more, more to look at the different variations or possible solutions for it?
Possible variants of possible solutions because we use a lot of different techniques. We're not like other teams out there. We use dowsing rods, we use pendulums. For example, Rick will usually use the electric dowsing rods. They work great in the dark. They're from North Canton Paranormal Detectives. They're great with filming. And then, of course, we also use the Obulus 5. What's awesome is if Melissa, she walks through knowing no knowledge of the history of the location. So if Melissa walks through the history of the location, and then we can use the Ovulus 5, for example, as using the EMF fields to create words and responses. It was developed by a guy named Bill Chappell, who basically created the Ovulus. But the whole theory is if you can match up the words and responses with what your psychic medium's impressions are, you might have possible paranormal activity because you're taking two different things and you're they're doing two different things, and then you pair them together and you find like words that are spot on with the history. You might have some kind of possible paranormal activity associated with it. So usually we have all kinds of different techniques. We also do something called the Chairs Warner Spirit Box session. We took the old Estes method, like which we've seen on like Kindred Spirits with Amy Bruni, Adam Berry, where you put a person on with a blindfold and a ghost box. But we created our own version that's even better because we also use a tripwire EMF, which is like a string of Christmas lights. We use the spirit box, the blindfold, but we also have our psychic medium hold a crystal. And then not only that, but we also use an EMF meter to try to see if we pick up a lot of EMF spikes. And also, we also use a voice recorder. So we do an EVP session in one combined with doing like a spirit box session. So we kind of created our own uniform spirit box session that I believe is better than anything out there you'll find. And it works really well. And Melissa really taps into, things that that I can't explain, and she's always been like spot on. Like she's really good like channeling, so she can channel spirits at will almost, and she can repeat what they're saying on the spirit box. So we always get great results with that. The Estes method, it's like the Estes method on steroids. You're adding more to it, and it works fantastic for us. It's one of our go-to methods that we've been doing for 3 years that we've been refining and improving. And then of course, gotta love EVP sessions, and so there's so many different styles, and I love kind of taking just a little bit what everybody else does and then put it into your own style that works for you. And that's what's really great is you don't have to copy people, but if you could take what you've learned from a little bit of everybody and then put it together, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I mean that's the amazing thing. Unfortunately, some of these TV shows people watch and they think, okay, that's the only way you can do it. I've done investigations before when we've done our investigation, and people will say, well, that's not the way they do it on Ghost Adventurers or Ghost Hunters. Or they say, well, yeah, okay. Unfortunately, that's the way we do it. So
exactly, and
call them in.
And call him and ask it. Like call Jeff Belanger, who pretty much worked with Zach from the beginning. Like him and Zach have been around literally for years on the show, and pretty much some of those uniform ways that they do things are not the legit ways to do it. Like of course the Zach idea is you did it to him, now do it to me. That's more of the ratings factor. It's entertainment.
Oh yeah.
So the provoking part, I say, if you treat the spirits like the home of the business, you treat them with kindness and respect, you're going to get respect back. That's how we do it, and we're very effective at that. Kindness and respect always wins out over provoking.
Josh, Josh, actually, some of the best people that have gotten EVPs that are proliferate at it, like Mark Nesbitt out in Gettysburg, he's amazing, and he's always telling me the same thing: is you got to treat them with respect. And I see that, and those people seem to get much better results than someone who's just there, swearing at them. Is like, oh yeah, show me what you got, yeah, all that crap. But anyways, unfortunately, we've run out of time, my friend. We'll have to have you on again sometime. I have a bunch of questions to ask you, and now that you know what the show is like.
Absolutely, yes. And I also want to make a major announcement about something that's going to be joining the network. I'm sure you've already
Oh,
announced it.
please do. Yeah, now's the time for you to promote your
Sure.
website and whatever else you've got going on.
Sure. So firstly, I'm here to announce, because obviously, much like everybody, that Joshua Stark has signed an agreement to use Dark Matter News on, basically ParaX Radio, and I own the brand, but I don't run the brand. That's Joshua Stark's now. That's a website, darkmatternews.com, which will be exclusive to ParaX now. The news service of Art Bell's Midnight in the Desert is now on ParaX Radio, darkmatternews.com. Our Rick Warner, our UFO guy, ERC2Explore.com. That's ERC, the number 2Explore.com. If you want to reach Mark Anthony, the psychic lawyer, that's afterlifefrequency.com, afterlifefrequency.com. And Melissa Ferrazano, our psychic medium, that's psychicmediumautumn.com, psychicmediumautumn.com. Our team website is phantomdetectives.org. That's Phantom, all one word, detectives.org. And Holly Faust's website is Holly, Holly, Faust, FAUST.com.
Wow, that's a mouthful right there. So unfortunately, we got to go. Josh, thank you so much for being on the show, and I look forward to speaking with you and also running Dark Matter News on ParaX. So good night, everyone, and God bless and stay safe.
Night.
From ghoulies to ghosties, long-leggedy beasties, and things that go bump.